As you can see there, we've just passed the church and we're making our way up this path here. With the St Peter's Martindale Church just behind me, just in a moment we come to a little fork in the paths, and what you do is you take the one that goes straight ahead, and we're aiming for that peak just ahead there. There's a path up the face of that peak, and that's the one that we're taking today. Wainwright wrote in his Far Eastern Fells book that the path from Martindale Old Church is actually the easiest way to climb Steel Knots, and that's the one that we're doing now. We're now on our way up the steep bit there, and that little divot groove that you can see in the top that we're actually heading to, once you get to there, there's a nice little section that you can have a sit down and admire the views. The path, although it was quite steep, it was quite easy underfoot, and some places it were almost like steps, so yeah, it was quite easy to get up. This is that viewpoint I were on about, where you can just sit down and enjoy the views of Ullswater. Get a bite to eat and something to drink. And once you've done that, it's time to crack on back up the peak. As you can see, this path isn't a well-walked path, but it does have some decent footholds in it, which makes it quite easy to walk up, almost like stairs. But as you can see though, eventually it does level off, like it has done now. The path's quite a smooth path, easy to follow, and it's not one of them paths that's eroded the land away. You might be able to tell with my breathing, it was quite a steep climb that, and I am huffing and puffing slightly. Here the path takes us through some nice flat land with only a slight ascent coming up. Wainwright says in his book that Steel Knots has the sharpest summit in Lakeland. Also, the rock tour that stands on the top of Steel Knots is called Pike. Wainwright also said in his book that there is no cairn on the top, but since then someone has started making one, but it's only a small one. Steel Knots also gives the best viewpoint for the Martindale district. Looks like we're coming up to the summit here, as you can just see on the left hand side ever so slightly. That looks like the Pike on Steel Knots. Slight descent before the final ascent up onto the summit. The summit stands at 1,414 feet. This is the rock formation on the top known as Pike. There you go, it stands at 432 metres, which is 1,414 feet. now heading over to the wall that you can see in the distance. You get there in about 10 minutes time. You can follow the path on the left side or the path on the right side of the wall. So we're now at the wall. We take the left path, but just to the right of us here, there's a gap in the wall and you can get onto the path that's just on the other side of the wall. I recommend the path on the other side of the wall because when we're at a higher point, we could see both paths, and the path on the other side of the wall looked much more easier than this one. This path wasn't difficult at all, but it just seemed more up and downhill.
Hey, what's that? Is that deer?
In this section of the Lake District, there's quite a lot of wild deer about. Last year we did Rest Dod and the Knot, and on the way up there must have been a herd of about 50 deer. These deer that we can see just seem to be grazing between Wether Hill and Loadpot Hill. And if you keep watching, you'll see what happens with the deer later on. As you can see, the path does come a bit away from the wall, but nothing too major. Easy to follow. You just keep following the wall and eventually you will come to the crossroad. In some parts, like just up ahead, it does get a bit boggy. Chances are, if you do go on the left path like I've done, you will probably get wet. However, like I said before, if you take the right path, it should be much easier. So we're almost at the crossroad now, and you'll know that you're at the crossroads because to your left you've got a little ruin of a building. To your right there's a gate, as you can see just here. This gate section does get really boggy, probably does even in summer as well. We decided to sit down in the building, have something to eat, something to drink, and we're watching the deer coming down the hill, and they suddenly started giving chase to the one at the front. Didn't manage to get my camera in time, but I managed to just get a little bit of them running down. So we leave the building after a quick refuel and we follow the path that goes behind it. Quite an easy path to follow, but we know that there's a right hand turn coming up just before a little gully. You soon start getting incredible views of Ullswater as well. This is where we had a quick look back and we could see that the path on the other side of the wall was much easier than the one that we took. The right hand turn's coming up just here. Almost missed it there, but yeah, it's just there and it goes up the side of this little gully to the left hand side. Now this bit is a real slog. This is where the deer had been grazing just before, flattened grass. And I'm now going to speed through the next bit because it's just us walking uphill. So you'll probably see the path to the left of you first. Now when you get to the crossroad here, you take a right and that takes you up to Wether Hill. We're coming up to the next Wainwright of this walk, which is Wether Hill, and it's just a few minutes up here. It's not an amazing Wainwright, but if you're ticking them off, it's got to be done. Here it is, it's just a small rock cairn on the floor. The height is 674 metres or 2,210 feet. To get to the next Wainwright of this walk, you've just got to head back exactly the way you came. You just keep following that path there that you can see all the way to the summit of that hill in front. The name of that hill is Loadpot Hill. And that'll be the third Wainwright of this walk. This that you can see here, it's not the cairn, it's just a shelter from the wind. This path up here, really easy to follow, really easy underfoot. No issues with it. This is the summit cairn for Loadpot Hill. Loadpot Hill summit stands at 671 metres or 2,201 feet. There's a lot of paths at the top of this one. We didn't take the path that was directly behind the summit cairn, we took the one to the right hand side. A bit further on that you'll see just here, we come to a Y junction which takes you off that massive path. Follow this path which takes you down a bit of a smaller path. Follow that. You'll know if you're going down the right path because right in front of you you've got Little Melfell and you've got Great Melfell just to the side of that. Eventually, just ahead, the path takes a right hand turn and you follow that all the way down, which is what we're doing here. Wonderful views to your left hand side, you've got Hole in Fell and you've got Ullswater. As you can see here, you've got a really easy path to follow. Just a quick look over to Arthur's Pike here. Here gives you an incredible opportunity for some amazing photos looking over Ullswater. In fact, here's one of them pictures that I took looking over Ullswater. So we're approaching the summit now of Bonscale Pike. And it stands at 523 metres or 1,718 feet. So that was the fourth Wainwright of this walk, and that was Bonscale Pike. We now follow this path that continues straight past Bonscale Pike. Within a couple of minutes the path starts going downhill and eventually it'll bring you out to a small river. The The summit that can be seen just ahead is the last Wainwright of this walk, and that is Arthur's Pike. Like I said, keep following this path that goes downhill, and you will eventually come to this river that you can see just ahead. It's actually a nice place, this, for a little rest. Get something to eat, get something to drink. Once you have had your rest, head on up the hill. Once you get to this bit here, instead of following the path that goes round to the left, follow the path that goes straight on. Because it brings you up this path here, which is a direct route up to Arthur's Pike. Otherwise, you end up on the path below, and you end up having to walk up until you find the path. You can see here we come to a bit of a wide junction. We take the right path here, which you can actually see the cairn at the top. So you follow this path and head up to that cairn there, but this is not the summit cairn. We've now passed that cairn. Now we just keep following this path here, and eventually you will see the summit cairn in a couple of minutes. And there you can see the summit cairn just there. Just keep following this path until you get there. So Arthur's Pike stands at 533 metres or 1,748 feet. You can see this path now just behind the summit cairn, which is this one here. Just keep following this down. Now it's a long walk, but just keep following it. And you'll see Ullswater just to your left hand side. Now down here, the path veers off to the right, which is the proper path, or there's one that continues just up to a little summit cairn in front, which is this summit cairn here. You can visit it if you want, because the path afterwards just joins straight back to the original path anyway. Now to your left hand side you will see a green path in a moment, and it cuts off probably a good mile of the walk, so it's definitely worth taking this path. This is that path. It has been well walked, it is easy to follow, and it brings you out just at the tree line at the bottom, or should I say just to the left of it. And once you're near the tree line you come to another little wide junction like this, but we're heading back to where the car is, which means we need to take the left path. This path gives us great views of Hall in Fell and all of Ullswater. Now this path does go on for quite a while. I'd say a good couple of miles, but it's easy underfoot and it's easy to follow. So just enjoy the views really. To your right, eventually you'll come to this Ullswater stone and it's been engraved, and this is what it says: "The loveliest of lakes, curving gracefully into the far distance." Just more things to look out for on your way back. A little river crossing here. A lovely view of Hawlin Fell just in front, or Halin Fell, however you choose to pronounce it. Now, during this part of the walk, we did pass some absolutely beautiful houses and I didn't record them for privacy reasons. But eventually you come to this opening and you keep following the path. It takes you through like a bit of a sheep field, but you keep following it and eventually you come out at the other side and you're onto the road. We now follow this road that we've come to. We keep following this. Eventually it comes to a bit of a crossroad. You've got a hotel to your left hand side, but you just keep going straight forward. Just ahead you come to a cattle grid and you've got a bit of a steep climb from here. But following this road will take you all the way up to where we parked at the beginning. Thank you very much for watching and I hope you found this useful.